Hi everyone, this is Richard. Before we go on to learning about loops, we do need to take a little bit of a detour and learn a little bit about conditionals because this is super important for the next loop, okay? So a conditional, let's go back here. When we say something like int a equals 11, the value of a is given the variable of a is given the value of 11, right? That's what we call an assignment. We say equal. What if we're saying that comparing two things together? For example, does A equal 11? Right? We're going to ask a question. We're not giving it the value, we're asking a question. And those are called conditionals. It's when you compare two values, is this value the same thing as that value? It's going to be the double equal sign. Of course, you could do greater than, less than, not equal to. Exclamation point equal is not equal to. So that one's an easy one in the sense that it either equals it or it doesn't. You don't care about the values. You just want to know, is it equal or not? All right. And this is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. All right. So that's the difference between assignment, giving a variable a value, and a conditional. What is the value compared to another value? Okay. And the syntax goes like this. If a condition, so the condition would be either true or false, right? Does this equal this? True or false? Is this greater than this? True or false, right? So it's a bool, right? So if some type of bool, then do something in the brackets. All right, so let's make a simple example. I'm going to go out on this real quickly. A equals B, B equals C. Actually, I'm going to comment this out for right now. If A equals B, I don't think that's, I'm going to format this. Okay, so let's format it correctly. So remember, right-click, format. A equals 11, B equals 12, C equals 11. If A equals B, system console, yes, A equals B. So what's going to happen when we run this? It should be nothing, right? Nothing should actually come out of this. Because this is not going to be read. Yep, so it's empty. So if this is true, it is not. This is false. Therefore, don't do this inside of here. If it's true, then do it. So if A equals 11, then it should run what's inside the brackets, right? So this should be true. I mean, yes, A equals B. Which, unfortunately, you got to be careful about what you're typing in there. If you change something, you should change something else, all right? So it will actually print what's inside of here. And so that's the if something, this is true, then do something like this. All right. What if it's, well, it might, what if this is, but this is not true, but I want to check something else. And you could do else if. So we're going to go back here a little bit. Else if. What this means is, okay, this may not be true. If A equals B, that may or may not be true depending on what the value of B is, right? This may not be true, but how about this? What if A is greater than B? Okay, so if this is true, this will run. If it doesn't run, it will go to the next step. Is this true? If A is greater than B, then this will run. Will it run? No, it won't because A is not greater than B. So what do we keep doing? We could keep doing else if. Well, else if A is less than B, and keep going down the line. Or we could use else. Why? Because really there are three choices. It either is equal, it's greater, or less than, because we're dealing with numbers. When we're dealing with like strings, when we're dealing with other types of data types, this is not going to be so easy. But for numbers, it might be a little bit easier, right? So else if A is greater than B, just write this down. But if it's not, everything else is going to be A is less than B. And so let's see if that actually works. By the way, you can either click here and run debugging, or you can hit Control F5. I think that says it right here. Control F5, okay? And so A is less than B. So this is the thing, the text that actually ran, because it's not, this is false, so therefore run this. What happens if you have bunches and bunches of different choices? You might not want to use else because if there's another choice, everything else is going to fall into this bucket. Sometimes you will just use else if the whole time. else if, and you don't use an else because an else is it's something that should never be, in some programs, should not be seen. So careful about when you do use else. Okay, it's just watch the logic when you're making your program. What if you want to have two things at the same time? For example, if A equals B or if B equals C, then I want to run this. Okay, or actually if A equals C and A equals 11, I want both of those to be true. So if either one is not true, I don't want this to run. So if it is both true, you say and. The and sign. This is true and A equals 11. I will only run this if both things are true. So when you run it, it will be true, so the first line will be read. If any of these is false, then it will skip to the next and keep going down the line. All right? So notice here, if you wrote this, and if it was false, so A is less than 1 equals 1, no. And we run this, again, you got to watch the logic. This is not true. A is greater than B. Is A greater than B? No. Is A less than B? Yes, it is. Okay, this logic is okay, but you got to be careful of the else. That was a bad example. What if you want to say or? I want to know if this or this is true, then run this thing. Okay? Either one. You could put these marks. This is on your enter key on the right side. There's a backslash. If you put shift backslash, that's this. I don't even know what this character is called, a tall line, I guess. This means or. Okay? So if this is true or this is true, then write this right here. And it should run. A equals B. Right there. So remember, I'm putting A equals B because this is text. So this is English. So with English, we know A equals B, meaning A is the same as B. With computers, you have to put equal, equal. Some people, like you may read them in forums and stuff, will say equal, equal, just because you really want to know what people know what you're talking about. But everybody else on the planet is going to know, in English at least, A equals B means A is the same thing as B. Again, just not in computer languages, okay? So you're not typing code in forums for the most part, though. All right, so I think that was about it with conditionals. If, else, if, and else. Is this value true? If so, run this. If this is not true, keep going down until it is true. If none of them are true, hit the else. Okay? You can have multiple if statements too. So if this, what's the difference? Well, this will only be read if this is false, right? But if you had multiple if statements, if this, every if statement will be acknowledged. It will be seen. But the else's are only seen if the prior ifs are false. All right? So I hope that was helpful. Let's keep moving on. Thanks.